Welcome back to Secret Weapons, and today we're taking a look at the Octahive by Beetronics. It's nice to be covering something that I can describe as fundamentally accessible by Beetronics. Don't get me wrong, I am a big fan of all of the really heady, complicated stuff I have played from them over the last year and a half. The Zombie is a formidable, chaotic, modulated fuzz monster, and the CB is just a really great, incredibly complicated chorus pedal. And today we're here talking about this tiny, pretty little device, the Octahive Mark II. This is in many ways a revisiting, a re-engineering of one of the kind of like classic staples of the Beetronics lineup, the Octahive. This is a very straightforward octave fuzz pedal. You have your pre, your honey, and your volume. Three basic simple controls. Preamp gain ahead of your dirt circuit, the actual gain in the circuit itself, and a kind of master volume. You press and hold this center button to activate the octave as a momentary switch, or you double tap it to switch the bass functionality from standard fuzz to octave. And that's more or less it, which is kind of great. This doesn't have to be an hour-long video like something like the CB ended up being. It is simple, it is straightforward, it is easy to use. There are some added complications. We'll get to them in the sound samples portion, but they're minor, I promise. So instead, let's just talk about what it sounds like. It is a great kind of spitty, angry fuzz circuit. It's that classic kind of pre-gain into your clipping circuit style fuzz that gives you everything from kind of broken battery and very Velcro-y sounds all the way up through that kind of like full saturation, almost muff-esque style kind of like wool blanket over your amp sound. For my money, the sweet spots in this thing all kind of lie in the subtleties. It's the perfect balances of that pre-gain and that honey control. Very rarely am I min or maxing anything on this pedal, but as you heard on that intro track, you end up with a lot of great texture, a lot of very rich, harmonically interesting octave fuzz sounds to really make a guitar part that sounds like it explodes in your mix. And I find that very, very satisfying. So let's go to our sound samples. Let's get to that top-down camera and let's listen to the Octahive by Beetronics. As always, before we get into our sound samples, let's go ahead and talk through our signal chain and the context we are working in. I am playing my Balaguer Ambient Select Espada with Gun Street wiring, Burnside single coil pickups. Our pedal board is the Universal Audio Max, the Beetronics Octahive, the Universal Audio Dream, Starlight, and Golden in stereo. From there, we go to our DI, which is the Pinstripe Pedals DISO Plus, and we go into our DAW, which is Universal Audio's Luna. For these sound samples, we're going to be basically just using the Dream and a little bit of plate reverb from the Golden. Here's what our guitar sounds like. And knobs at noon, here is the Octahive. Very Velcro-y in a lot of ways. And of course you have that octave. So the control scheme on the Octahive is really very straightforward. From left to right at the top of the pedal, you have your pre-gain, your honey, and your master, or your volume. But you can essentially think of it as the amount of volume hitting the clipping circuit, the character of the clipping circuit itself, and the master volume. So let's go ahead and walk through some of those core controls. So we now have pre and master both at noon. We have minimized the gain. Let's go ahead and slowly roll up that gain control. Like I said, there is an incredibly simple set of controls for this thing, but they react in a lot of fascinating ways that create a lot of interesting textures. Kind of by balancing out that pre and that gain control, you really do find yourself getting access to a variety of kind of everything from Velcro and broken battery sounds up to like big, rich, smooth, like saturated fuzz sustain. In a way that's really, really cool. As you can tell from some of the quick like run-throughs we've done, that octave is accessed by pressing and holding that foot switch. But there's actually some really interesting kind of dynamics at play there. Let's go ahead and dial up kind of a higher gain thing. And you can notice that that switch is pretty immediate, even kind of giving you access to some kind of fun, glitchy, kind of pickup swapping style like tricks. But there's two quick things you can that you can do that you really should know about with this pedal. Number one is incredibly easy, which is while the pedal is active like this, a quick double tap on that switch will actually change the default state to the octave mode. And the other one is you can actually adjust how quickly the octave kind of switch back and forth takes to enact. It can be immediate, or it can be up to, I think, about 200 milliseconds. And the way you do that is by unplugging the pedal, holding on the foot switch, powering it back up, and then kind of using the lights as an indicator to see how long you've got it set for. Let's demonstrate. So we now have it set to take longer to make that jump back and forth. And I think that's all there is to know. It is bombastic, it is angry, it is spitty, and it is full of character. The Octahive is a lot of fun.